Sailing for days in the open sea, hunting the blood of my enemies, searching for gold with Gilmekki, we're the pirates of the coast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bsawr, Black Sails, Apocalypse World, and Running. This is the show where we imagine as if the wonderful piratical show that's on Starz Network called Black Sails, as if it were not pitched and written in a TV writer's room, but instead it existed originally as a tabletop game where there was an MC who was running a game called Apocalypse World, which is one of my personal favorite RPGs right now. And it turns out that a very smart man and friend of mine also thinks this is an interesting experiment, although we'll see.
Had him on.
It's Josh. How are you doing, Josh?
Hi. I'm doing well. My back hurts a lot, but other than that, I'm doing great.
Okay, man, we'll talk about that in our running update. That's the part of Bsawr. We'll talk about that. Hey, by the way, we missed out on an opportunity. It was Talk Like a Pirate Day just the other day. This would have been a perfect recording opportunity.
It's true. We dressed up our small child in his Jake and the Neverland Pirates t-shirt and went to the county fair. And everyone asks, "Wow, did you dress him up for Talk for a Pirate Day?" And our response was, "Oh, it's Talk for a Pirate Day?" Yeah, yes, he's cosplaying, sure.
There you go. Yay, happenstance.
Yeah.
Man, so let's move on. Let's talk about Black Sails Episode 7, VII. This is a short season show, and it only had 8 episodes in the first season. So this is kind of the penultimate. This is the setup. And boy, can you tell it, right? Josh, what are your thoughts on 7?
It's not a bad episode, but it's quite possibly the least Apocalypse World episode of the first season, mostly because it's doing a lot of setup for the finale, and it involves a lot of characters that we have flagged as NPCs, and a lot of those NPCs talk to each other, setting up the things that are going to happen in the finale. And we also have my personal favorite stupid-ass kind of scene. We have the character confronting the main character, asking them to put aside their way of life that the show's premise is based on. It is a completely toothless conflict. It's like, stop being a pirate. It's okay. You don't have to be a pirate anymore. And Flint's response is, yes, but then we won't have a show now, will we? Oh,
I don't think we need another Boston show.
Yeah, Flint goes to Boston. He becomes a Cooper. It's not going to happen. But other than that, we also have Vane. One of the threads of plot through this episode is Charles Vane, who we've identified as one of the more significant NPC threats. He's a warlord, a Pack Alpha. But the camera follows him for a lot of this episode when he goes and confronts Blackbeard, who is hiding out at a lumber camp, of all places. So there's a lot of that, and it's a really neat plot line, and I enjoy it as much as I enjoy any of Vane's stuff, but Vane's still not a player character as far as our analysis of this goes, and really as the show progresses. He's not a player character that makes consequential decisions. So it's kind of a little weird. But we do have Flint dealing with the fallout of Billy dying or being thrown overboard or whatever happened to Billy last episode. We have Eleanor trying to find a place for the slaves that they inadvertently rescued. And we have Rackham dealing with a brothel owner. Dealing with being a brothel owner because he doesn't know how to run a brothel. Turns out. It's a different skill set than piracy. So there's a lot of things happening, but very few things get resolved. And speaking of Eleanor finding the place for the captured slaves and all, that plot line happens off screen. So yes, there's a lot that was frustrating about watching this episode, trying to make notes for this episode.
Yeah. Some of the cool bits that did happen were talked about, not actually happening.
Yeah.
So some things that I enjoy, I really like. Absolutely, Flint dealing with Billy's death was like a long tale throughout the entire episode, and this episode was almost the story of Flint losing his first mate of Gates. Flint losing Gates, and if I were to tie it to a move, early on there was a point where Gates sat down with Flint and said, "All right, here's the deal. Billy's dead. That meant a lot to me. He was like a son to me." And it felt almost like Flint said, "All right, I'm not gonna pack Alpha. I'm not gonna beat on you. I'm gonna try to reason with you. I'm gonna manipulate you." Because that's one of the few moves that he would have in Apocalypse World. And I think he hosed the role, really.
Oh,
he
yeah,
lost.
totally. He botched it. He got a 2.
Yeah, because what he said was, "Oh, well, if he was like your son, then boy, you're the reason he died, because you should have taught him better than to accuse me." This did not go over very well.
Yeah. And then I feel like in that scene, he sees that he's totally botched it, and so he tries to then go to Pack Alpha, right? He's like, okay, if that didn't work, then I'm going to just make my gang fall in line. I'm going to make him, and he doesn't fail. He only gets that 79 partial success, and he's got to pick one of goes along with, fights back, or he has to make an example of one of them, and he picks. Gates goes along with this, which means he's going to fight back, and I'm going to have to make an example of him at some point. So yeah, it did not turn out to Flint's advantage at all.
Yeah. Again, another like NPC moment, but just the follow through at the end when Gates is sitting on the walrus and Flint is sitting on, oh crap, I can't remember the name of his ship. Anyway, the two of them are, because they're taking 2 ships.
Yeah, the walrus and the ranger.
Thank you, the ranger. And the two are looking at each other, and Gates does this like, "Hey, how's it going?" Then it flashes back to the total plot of, "By the way, we're going to take him out." Like,
yeah, I almost felt like that was like a custom move for the campaign of like casting off, right? And like, is everyone behind you? And he rolls and like, oh no. Not everyone's behind you, and you botched that. So here's your announced future badness. Gates has agreed to kill you.
Yeah, man, that was rough too. It was good. It was good because it was a great kind of follow up to at the end of that first scene that I first talked about, when Gates said to Flint, and Flint tried to pack Alpha him, and he said he's going to fight back. He pretty much said, "Hey, we're in this for this mission. We're going to get the Urca to Lima. We're going to split our monies and we go our separate ways because I'm done." And you're like, "Oh, he's done? Oh, he's more than done," because Dufresne's like, "And we're going to kill it."
Yeah. Whoops.
Yep. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out Eleanor finding a place for the captured slaves. I thought that was interesting. In IGN did recaps of each episode. One of the things they pointed out was that Mr. Scott is the primary motivator for why Eleanor found a place for the captured slaves. He was her advisor. He ended up on that slave ship, and so there was the great allusions to their history, but we never saw it on screen, and it didn't have as much emotional impact. I didn't know why. I still don't know why Mr. Scott cares so much about Eleanor. There seems to be a reason of like there was more of a almost family type relationship. Maybe he's kind of a father figure because her dad sucks. But
true.
Yeah, just didn't.
Maybe in season 3 there will be extensive flashback sequences.
That's entirely possible. There was that in season 2 to establish a whole lot of stuff.
Indeed.
Okay, so what's some cool scenes? We already talked about a number of them. Do you have one that you want to talk about from the?
Well, I did like we open up with a sex scene for Jack and Anne, and by sex scene I don't mean like it's hot and steamy. It's like no, they're trying to have sex and it doesn't really work out. But it's still an intimate scene, so their sex moves trigger. And the funny thing is, she's a gun lugger and he's an operator. So as the gun lugger, she walks away from this kind of botched sex scene with a +1 forward, because that's Anne. And he walks away with, he's got an obligation gig to keep her happy. And that's Jack. And that pretty much describes their entire relationship. She powers up and he just has obligations.
Yeah, boy. That's a really astute point. I just want to take it aside to say that there was for people who want equality of nudity, this is your episode. Gender equality of nudity, this is your episode, because there was a little bit of side boob in the background. There were 2 full male frontal nudity scenes. This was one of 2. And Rackham tied on the bed and left on the bed by the gun lugger as she went off to do her thing, saying, "Deal with it." Yeah, that was pretty great. Pretty great.
Yeah.
I also liked, they opened up with Flint returning from going against the Scarborough and getting a few of the guns and a mixed success from last episode. And Eleanor said, "So while you were gone, my father pretty much announced that there was no government, so I made one. We now have a consortium, and I cut some deals, so we're fully functional pretty much now. Just in case you had any questions, I fixed it all before everything was destroyed." And he says, that was in a day? Yep, pretty much in a day. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a great little hard holder brag. I have to say that's one of my favorite Eleanor moments as an actual hard holder doing hard holder things. It's just talking about the things she had done.
Yeah, that was nice.
There was a cute follow-up, not move related, but an amusing follow-up where it shows the first meeting of the consortium and the reading of the minutes, and all of a sudden it looks so boring, and she looked so horribly bored. It was great. It's the price you pay, Eleanor.
And then you also liked the scene in the brothel with Jack and Max.
Oh man, that was a great PC scene, right? So, Jack is in the brothel and one of the prostitutes comes up and she goes, "Hey, I just got you 5 silver. Here you go. Aren't you happy with me?" And he's about to take it because he's ignorant, right? They've already set that up with Max in a previous scene in the same episode where one of the other prostitutes came to Max who's recovering from a lot of abuse. And she says, "Hey, you better hustle up. We're all robbing Jack blind because he's an idiot." So then we fast forward to this, and Max is watching this other prostitute come in and like, "Oh, here you go, 5 silver. There you go. Aren't you happy with me, pimp guy?" And Max goes right in for the jugular and says, "I think you were just with this one captain, and one thing he always wants is to be mothered, and that you always get 20 silver, not 5. And she says, "Oh, he didn't have time for it." And then Max says, "Oh, really? So if I go talk to him, will he corroborate your story?" And she starts to get mouthy, and then Max, shapow, does the thing, wha-bam. And I'm like, oh crap, there's going to be a big fight. Nope, she totally nailed that. 10 plus on her. I don't know, was that a go aggro? What was that?
That was seize her self-respect by force, I think.
Yeah, she nailed that one. And so prostitute immediately turns to Jack. Is like, "I'm so sorry. I swear on all these other things, I will never rip you off again." And it was a cool Max being badass moment, and Jack maybe he got a +1 forward that he didn't even realize from his failed sex move obligation thing. So
yeah,
that was a neat scene. I love that it got a great kind of turnaround for Max of taking ownership after having kind of been victimized, mostly because, as we've discussed in previous episodes, the player just showed up late.
Right.
Yeah. Cool.
As far as I've got my favorite PC move of this episode is a thing that's not really a move. So Flint at the towards the tail end of this episode is drinking in Eleanor's little drinking house, and he he asks her, like, "Are we as crazy as everyone thinks we are for pursuing this?" And she tells him that she puts her trust in him and that she trusts that he'll be able to pull this off. And they embrace, and he, kisses her on the forehead. And this is something that, like, really, he should be taking a +1 forward out of this somehow, right? She has bolstered his self-confidence. She's invested her trust into him, and this is a thing that the hard holder really should do, right? This is a hard holder thing, and it's not in the hard holder book. And there are some reasons for that, and I think I've mentioned it before, that the hard holder playbook is, as Vincent Baker says, a trap for the type of player who thinks that they can solve all the problems of the world with guns and violence. And so the hard holder the playbook is designed for, here's your guns and here's your jackal gang that can just fuck everything up for you. And I'd like to see you make something positive out of that, but you can't. And while I totally understand that, and I respect the thematic address to a point, there are other kind of hard holders. And I think Eleanor is one of those hard holders, where she's trying to not use guns and violence to get her way, because she doesn't have a gang at her beck and call, really. She's got a few guys that keep her drinking house safe, but she doesn't send them off on operations and whatnot. So this is a thing that I wish was in the hard holder book, where you can bolster up people. You can tell them that you trust them. You can invest yourself into other people and help them be more effective. So maybe it's a custom move that she talked to with her MC and they created on the fly or something. But that's my favorite move from the episode.
I think that's a really great point. There's a particular tone and play style within Apocalypse World, and when you're right in those in between two, when you're riding that road, it's awesome. But if you want a hard holder that says, okay, I understand that that's a trap, I want another option. That's why I love that Apocalypse World does have custom moves, and that's how you reshape your Apocalypse, your particular game. And so, yeah, I think it'd be a great custom move. I've seen that in other Apocalypse World hacks. People like in Masks. I just recently played that, and there's a build someone up move, and that would be great for Eleanor right here.
Yeah, exactly that.
Cool. All right, so let's see here. There's a bit with Silver where Silver, and Randall. Did you want to talk about the Silver and Randall bit?
Yeah, this is one of the other threads one of the major threads of the episode, and it starts with an MC hard move where, pretty much apropos of nothing, as far as Silver is concerned, Silver's standing there with Randall, and somebody else comes up, and Randall says, "Oh, by the way, Silver here's a thief." Which, they're all pirates, but thieving from each other is different from thieving from merchantmen. So this becomes a thing, and Dufresne's is the one who he talked to, calls the other guys in, De Groot, and a third guy who I'm sure has a name, but I don't know it. And they're talking about whether or not they should bring this in front of the rest of the crew, and what will happen if they do that, and because it implicates Flint and all sorts. This can unravel the entire ship. And while the three of them are discussing that outside the tent, Silver goes to Randall and is like, "Look, it's 50-50 right now. They're either going to kill me for this, or they're going to kill you for this instead. So maybe we should figure out a way that nobody gets killed." And so the thing that the leverage that he presents is, "I will promise to keep an eye out for your half-witted self and make sure that you don't destroy anything or set the ship on fire, and you get to continue sailing with the crew. And Randall acquiesces and then starts accusing everyone of being a thief. And so the 3 other crewmen conclude that Randall's a halfwit and doesn't know what he's talking about. Later, Silver floats the possibility that Randall was manipulating him the entire time. And Randall really just wants to be on the ship, getting all the benefits thereof without taking any of the risks, which is pretty much what he gets at the end of this episode. So that was a very nice... It was nice to see Silver struggle to get his way and then realize that it was a trap the entire time.
Was that a manip? Was that a manipulate that maybe Silver tried to pull to save his own skin? It seemed like it, but
I think it was probably a manipulation. I don't think the Battle Babe has anything else in the repertoire to affect that sort of change. So yeah, he was defaulting back onto basic moves because he didn't have anything else.
So here's the question: was that a mixed success? And then the mixed part was realizing that's what Randall wanted all along.
No, I think it was a 10+ because he got exactly what it was, and he got it for a promise. He didn't have to show immediate benefit at that moment, right? He was like, "I promise, I will help you if you help me now." He just turns out the thing that he promised was what Randall wanted all along. And
nice.
a 10+ success does not mean, you won everything all the time. It just means you get what you want right now, which is very different.
Really good point. That's very astute. Thanks, Josh. That's good. All right. So we talked about hard moves. The MC was, there was future badness all over the place. Gates becoming a threat to Flint. And then, of course, the MC hard move of, oh, by the way, Randall is accusing you of stealing the letter. So both those are pretty hard moves. So anything else about the episode 7 you want to talk about, Josh?
No, nothing about this episode. I'm looking forward to the climax for the next episode. It's a really nice cap to the season. And I believe you were just telling me how it's why we're doing this podcast.
It was the seed that like kind of got me all really fired up. There's a particular moment we will talk about specifically where I said that is the coolest hard move I have ever seen on screen, and yeah, it was pretty great. Cool. So let's wrap it up by talking about our jogging, and I think you kind of alluded to maybe there wasn't a whole lot of jogging. So how are you doing? How's something about your back there, Josh?
So last Saturday I did one of my first long runs on the weekend preparing for a marathon in January. I did 15K, which is 9.5 miles. And it was a really good long run. It was one of those runs where I was exactly at my limit the entire time. And it was a really good workout. And I got home and I felt tired, but I wasn't exhausted. And it was really good. And then the next day I went to the Habitat for Humanity build and helped build a house and fucked up my back. So I've spent the last week not really being able to sit for any length of time, not being able to bend over or pick anything up. So as you can imagine, my house is a mess right now. And I also haven't got running, which I kind of coming to the conclusion I should have gone running. The thing about straining your back is that you shouldn't rest too much because that can actually aggravate things. And if I had stayed with my running regimen, I might be a little better now. I was going to start again. I resolved yesterday, like on Monday, I'll run. I'll do a run. I'll take it easy and all, but I will get out there. And then I woke up this morning and I slept wrong or something, and everything hurts more again. So I didn't quite get out there because I took a big nap instead. Hopefully tomorrow I will get out there. Hopefully tomorrow morning I will wake up and feel better. But I need to get running again, if only to get my body in motion so that it will heal up my back. So that's me. How about you?
I'm Doing pretty great. First of all, I'm sorry to hear that, Josh. And if you need an accountability partner, someone to maybe shoot you a text, send you a message, remind you that you said you were going to run tomorrow, I'll be that guy for you, man, if that'll help.
Yes.
Sweet. Okay. Cool. So me, I'm finally in my groove. You know, I mentioned last time I'm starting to kind of get back on track. I'm doing the Hal Higdon Novice 2 training for a half marathon that's going to happen Thanksgiving morning. And the long run this Saturday was a 7-miler. So it's a 6-mile track with the group that I run with. They either do 6 or 12. So I did the 3 at the 3-mile turnaround. I kicked out another half mile and then flipped around and did the 7. And I felt really good. And was going to do Monday's supposed to be a rest day, but it actually works better for me. So I run Monday, Wednesday, Friday instead of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday like the Hal Higdon. So I cheat a little bit. But so I got a message from my running buddy. Hey, can we run in the afternoon? Okay, that sounds great. I'll sleep in. Then he messaged me in the afternoon like, I've got a lot of work stuff and I don't think I'm going to be able to make the jog. And I'm like, crap, okay, do I want to run tonight by myself or do we want to push for Tuesday? And so we're going to run tomorrow. And then all of a sudden he messaged me, I got my stuff done early. Let's go. So we ran out and we jogged our 3 miles. So I was like, yeah, this is great. It was super fun. I love running with him because we'll talk about TV, mostly Fear the Walking Dead, and I'll catch him up on any play-by-post games that I'm running or playing. That's what we do while we run for half an hour to 40 minutes. It's the best. Cool. Yeah. So excited. And my son, who's 9, starts tennis tomorrow. And so we went out, got rackets, and we did a little bit of hitting of the tennis ball back and forth. He's not very good, but he's 9. This is his first time. I did not expect goodness, but he had fun. So I'm super excited about that. And that's a nice little cross-training exercise for us.
Awesome.
Cool. So your goal is to get back out there so that your back doesn't become worse. And I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep trucking. I got an 8-miler this weekend. I'm so excited. 8-mile run. Yeah. That's how you know you're around the bend on running. You're like, all right, I get to go running. Yeah, I tell you, there is that bit where you finally like broke it in. You're okay. I'm used to this again. My only thing is that I use my only like I really wish this weren't a truism is my phone holder, the strap on it has just soaked up so much sweat. There is no amount of washing that makes it not stink bad. It stinks a lot all the time. I literally have a Ziploc box that I put it in.
They're only like $5 or $10. You can replace it.
I should cycle it out. It's just one of those, like, it does the job. It holds the phone perfectly. It just smells really bad because I'm a stinky sweater. I don't know. I guess it's because I eat a lot of meat. I'm sure that if I changed my diet, I would not stink nearly as much. But yeah, that sweat smells bad.
Well, think of how many miles that thing has gone. So, I mean, it's understandable.
True. I just on the Saturday morning run, it's a little aside and we'll go. But on the Saturday morning run, I got there, I'm kind of chubby, 40-year-old dude, and I get out there and there's all these little fasties, like skinny little minis, and some of them are coming back from their 6 mile. They ran at 5 and they did 6 in less, like 40 minutes or whatever, and they're coming back. They're hardly even sweaty. I get like 1 mile out, I'm covered, like it's raining outside, but it's not raining. No, that's just Rich.
You're running in Florida, man.
Those people were running in Florida, and they're dry. They're like bone dry. I'm like, why can you still be dry? So, just funny. Sweat hog. There's no escaping it.
Yeah.
Well, Josh, sorry about your back. Excited that you're still on track and that you're not demoralized. That's the attitude's the most important. You can do this.
Yeah. So here's hoping I'll get out there tomorrow. I will try.
You can do it. You can do it.
I can do it.
All right. And then in 2 weeks, we will record for episode VIII, also known as 8.
This is VIII that I'm doing right here. It's not. It's VIII. Right.
It just looks like quotation marks.
VIII. Awesome.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Josh, and
Yeah, thank
we'll
you.
catch you around the bend.
See you next time.